Very much. Dominic Foxworth joining us with his view of where we are. We'll take a break. We're not done yet. Dale Brown in the final hour. We'll also spend a little more time today talking about the passing of Pat Dye, the legendary Auburn coach.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. We're close, convenient, and known for our guaranteed everyday low prices and excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
I'm Mina Kimes, host of ESPN Daily. Each morning, we bring you a deep dive into a single story from one of ESPN's hundreds of reporters. It's the best of ESPN Daily. ESPN Daily is presented by Marathon. Right now, you can get 5 cents off every gallon every day with Make It Count rewards from Marathon. It's quick and easy to join. Just download the free Make It Count app or go to makeitcount.com/radio and start saving today. Marathon, fueling the American spirit.
The year was 1919. Barbasol shaving cream was invented by a dreamer named Frank Shields. The world's first modern shave cream, Barbasol changed the face of shaving forever. A few billion shaves later, Frank's dream lives on. Behind every face is a dream. Barbasol proudly salutes every fearless, self-assured, wide-eyed dreamer all across America. Celebrating 100 years. Barbasol.
Here at ESPN Pensacola Sports Headlines, I'm JP. Major League Baseball Players Association delivered a return-to-play proposal to MLB on Sunday that includes a 114-game season, deferred salaries in the event of a canceled postseason, and the option for all players to opt out of a potential 2020 season due to the coronavirus. The proposal, which was the first from the union, came on the heels of an MLB plan that was loudly rejected by the players. This comes at a seminal moment as baseball tries to become the first major American professional sport to return. While players expect the league to reject it, they hope that it would serve as a bridge to a potential deal this week. Brad Keselowski has a new crew and is fighting for a new contract at Team Penske. His confidence is still intact and he's convinced that he can compete for a championship this year. Being in the right place at the right time is helping. Keselowski inherited his second win in a week when the leaders crashed in front of him with a lap remaining Sunday at Bristol Motor Speedway. He won the Coca-Cola 600 7 nights ago at Charlotte Motor Speedway when a caution with 2 laps remaining helped him get to victory lane. I felt like I was in Las Vegas, Keselowski said about the Bristol win. I went from having a bad hand to a full house real quick. The victory dropped into Keselowski's lap when Chase Elliott and Joey Logano collided as they raced for the win. Keselowski was third with a lap and a turn remaining when opportunity opened. Logano cleared Elliott for the lead with 3 to go, but Elliott stalked him while seeking his second win in 3 days. And the NBA is planning a Thursday vote of the league's Board of Governors, with owners expected to approve Commissioner Adam Silver's recommendation on a format to restart the season in Orlando, Florida. The NBA has been examining several plans for a return to play, but numerous members of the Board of Governors tell ESPN that there's growing support for a plan to bring 22 teams to Disney's ESPN-wide World of Sports complex in July. And for your ESPN Pensacola Sports Headlines, I'm JP.
From time to time, parents occasionally ask,
is it safe for my children to participate in high school sports?
A better question might be,
is it safe for my children not to participate in high school sports?
Statistics show that teenagers are likely to be healthier and stay healthier as adults if they play a sport in high school. Participating in a high school sport builds and maintains strong bones, muscles, and joints. High school athletes are also more likely to develop good eating habits. High school athletes not only have stronger bodies, their self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-discipline are strengthened too. So insightful parents aren't asking,
is it safe for my children to participate in high school sports?
Instead, they're asking,
hey, what time is the game tonight?
This message presented by the Florida High School Athletic Association and the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
From First Take to your radio.
Zion, 16 games. Okay, how many games do they have left? About 20, 22 games. All right, so he ain't gonna even reach 40 games. Damn it, I mean, this first year in the NBA, which he's getting paid for, it's like a college season that do. Give a damn about no back-to-back. You're 19 years old. 19 years old. All right, figure it out.
1 to 2 weekday afternoons on ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Football season never ends on Talk Football with Coach K.
Stidham is tearing it up at New England. He may well be the incumbent to Tom Brady there.
Former head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Coach K brings his expertise as he breaks down the game, the players, the coaches, and the front office. Plus high-profile interviews from the biggest names in football. Talk Football with Coach K every weekday from noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1.
Plan. Access content from each service separately.
So welcome you back here Monday afternoon, and so much going on. Let's grab some more calls, and Logan is up next in North Carolina. Good afternoon, Logan.
Hey, Paul. Good to talk to you again.
Thank you.
I just want to say real quick, I was born and raised an Alabama fan, but I definitely want to send out some condolences to Pat Dye's family. He was the villain when I was a kid in the 80s, but I think he's done a great job for the conference. He's been a great ambassador, and I've always enjoyed your interviews with him.
Thank you.
And I just want to say thanks for bringing everything up today. I just want to say, I was born and raised in South Alabama, small school, and we had teachers that had taught in the black school system when it was segregated that were teaching us now. And just being able to hear some of their stories about the March on Washington and the Civil Rights Movement, it really just opened my eyes up. And, you don't realize it when you're a kid, but that's hugely important to be able to experience the firsthand, stories that they've told. So I'm always just appreciative of that. But I think it's really important what you're doing right now. You're getting this out to people that might not hear it normally. Maybe they do. I don't know. I haven't lived in Alabama in years, but thank you so much for bringing this up. And I just wanted to say, Elle Duncan, that was one of the best interviews I've heard in a long time.
I have. Ella, what's so bizarre is Ella and I are very close friends. We've worked together last 3 or 4 years in the same studio up in Connecticut, and I heard things, and it just shows you that when you're moving quickly, sometimes you don't ever really know. And she was absolutely amazing today. Thank you for bringing that up. Robin is up next in Birmingham. Hello, Robin.
Hi, Mr. Feinbaum. How are you?
Robin, I'm well. Thank you for calling.
Good. The last time I called you, I think that was when Larry Paul Langford in office.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's been a very long time. And I was just listening to you, and I know you saw the violence. The whole world saw the violence here in Birmingham on
it was heartbreaking to watch.
Especially after all we've been through, the civil rights and everything.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Birmingham has had to deal with this as much as any city in America, and has overcome the majority of it with a lot of hard work, and that was just painful to see last night. And I know the mayor and so many other citizens are trying to figure out a way to move this forward.
What I always tell my daughter, and a lot of young people don't listen, they don't believe in the system. But like I tell them all the time, that system where you vote works. You can get who you want in office, and if you need some help, they'll help you. But they don't listen. So the only thing I can say is learn from these lessons. You're tearing down our city. When you have no jobs, the companies won't come here. Whose fault is it? Well, it's not mine. It will be yours, and it'll be your city to live in. So these are the lessons that they're going to have to learn. As my mother said, a hard head makes a soft behind. So they're going to be...
No, I'm glad you said that. And again, I think most people are good. I don't understand why people do things, but I also understand, as you do, Robin, the desperation of people, and when you have nothing sometimes and you've lost everything, you do not. I'm not. By the way, I'm not absolving and I'm not condoning. No one in their right mind would, but you don't think rationally. You just you want to blame an innocent storefront where somebody has probably put their entire life on the line to make it work, and is probably suffering already because of what's happened for the past 3 months, and it all goes down the drain.
With the COVID,
Yeah.
They don't care.
No.
And pray for our city, America.
Thank you, Robin, for sharing that.
This is like the second wave of something else.
No, it's
Take care, Paul.
you bet. Really great that you called, and it's heartbreaking to see it everywhere in the country. I mean, I happen to have spent most of my life in where Robin lives in Birmingham, and from the day I got there to the day I left, I watched that city grow. I watched that city overcome a stigma that it was the most racist place in America, and I got to know many mayors, many civic leaders, and that's a city that was really on an incredible run to especially in the downtown area that had been so dormant for so long, and that was really incredibly sad to watch last night. Anyway, so much to talk about, and we have another hour to go. Again, mentioning the passing today of Pat Dye. We talked to Kevin Skarbinski about that earlier, and just some incredibly poignant words about Coach Dye, and we will continue to do that throughout the final hour of the program. We'll also talk to Dale Brown, who, in terms of people in athletics, has been one of the most outspoken and for the longest that I can remember. We'll take a break.
We're here to tell you about Boost Mobile's new upgraded network.
That's right. Stronger signal, faster speeds, and more coverage.
So now you can get everything you want faster, like Pitbull's music.
No, the new upgraded network means you can download music faster than ever before. It doesn't mean that it will make Pitbull songs faster.
Oh, so this isn't the song.
No, this is the song.
Well, this is embarrassing.
Step up with Boost Mobile's new upgraded network. Stronger signal, faster speeds, more coverage than before. Switch and get 4 unlimited lines for $25 per line per month and 4 free LG K51 phones. Access to upgraded network requires compatible device. New customers only. 4-line offer requires at least 1 port and activation from eligible carrier. Free phone limited to 1 per line while supplies last. Customers using more than 35 gigabytes of data during billing cycle may be deprioritized during times of congestion. Offers and coverage not available everywhere. Additional terms and restrictions apply. See boostmobile.com or retailer for full details.
For your Gulf Coast Sports Minute, I'm JP. Pensacola Sports recently presented 36 awards and over $100,000 in scholarships at their annual Senior Scholar Athlete Banquet, which of course was held virtually this year. Kaylee Herring from Gulf Breeze and Nicholas Dimitrioff from Catholic High won the overall female and male scholarships respectively. For the UWF Argos men's basketball team, Coach Burkhammer is having a pretty good offseason. After recently attaining a couple of JUCO transfers, the squad assigned yet another transfer in Wendell Matthews. The 6'7" forward averaged over 16 points a game last year for North Iowa Area Community College. In our recruiting spotlight this week, Marquise Robinson for the Milton Panthers. At 6'3", 300 pounds, the big defensive lineman, they call him Big Baby, but make no mistake, there's nothing childish about his game. This young man is an absolute dominant force between the tackles. He possesses great size and rare quickness for the position. Robinson is a 4-star recruit and ranked as the number 18th defensive tackle in the nation by 247 Sports. His offers include Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, and Florida State. That's your Gulf Coast Sports Minute. I'm JP.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Nick Saban has a message for us regarding the coronavirus.
First of all, I hope this message finds you and your family safe and well. On behalf of our program, we want to give thanks to all the medical professionals and caregivers in our state and across the country in these challenging times. Our daily routines have changed dramatically over these past weeks. As we have said to our team, we share the same message to all of you. Please understand the following guidelines of social distancing. We ask that everyone please wash your hands often. Stay at home if at all possible. And when you have to be out in public, make sure you keep 6 feet between you and the nearest person. We are in this together, and as one team, we will get through these difficult times. And together, we look forward to all that's to come, like the opportunity to play college football this fall. But the best and safest way to ensure that happens is to listen to the experts, follow their guidelines, and take care of each other. Stay safe and roll Tide.
This week in sports history, I'm JP. In 1935, Babe Ruth announced his retirement as a player. In 1942, Red Sox star Ted Williams enlisted as a U.S. Navy aviator. After he enlisted, he went to Pensacola for intermediate training where he set records in aerial gunnery. Williams received his wings and commission in the Marine Corps on May 2, 1944. In 1964, the San Francisco Giants beat the New York Mets 8-6 in 23 innings, which was the second game of a doubleheader, and lasted 7 hours and 32 minutes. In 1967, French Championships men's tennis, Roy Emerson beat fellow Australian Tony Roche for his 12th and final Grand Slam title. In 1972, French Open women's tennis, American icon Billie Jean King wins her only French singles title, beating Yvonne Goolagong of Australia. And in 1985, the New Orleans Saints were sold for just over $70 million. The Saints are now worth over $2.2 billion. That's This Week in Sports History. I'm JP.
Some of America's bravest warriors are returning home wounded. Here's one of them.
My name is Norberto Lara. While I was on a combat patrol, a rocket propelled grenade took my arm off at the shoulder. I was discharged from the Army, and I've been working with the Wounded Warrior Project since 2007. You don't have to be severely wounded. A lot of guys have post-traumatic stress disorder. Being able to share your story kind of helps you wrap your mind around what did happen over there. My name is Norby, and yes, I do suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, but I'm okay.
Don't suffer in silence. Contact woundedwarriorproject.org.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, Sports Call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Coming up on the Sports Drive today, we'll take a look back at a legend of the South, a man who joined us every Thursday for 6 years. Never got to have that mullet with him in Perdido, but bigger, important things, and a memory of Pat Dye, the legendary Auburn coach.
Has just become the NFL's all-time leading rusher. It's across the middle, it is caught for the first. It's Baldwin shaking free and sprinting down the sideline for the touchdown. His third of the day. Doug Baldwin.
Derek Brooks, who ran back 3 interceptions for touchdowns in the regular season, does it to cement the Super Bowl.
Boxing's elite, the new WBA heavyweight champion of the world, Roy Jones Jr.
Both been beaten. The result has come up on screens that Gatlin's taken it. Goodness me, it was a blue American vest, 992 for Gatlin, 992 by the American champion to take gold.
Another Watson is wearing a green jacket at Augusta. And this time, his name is Bubba.
Scores on a 34-yard touchdown run by the Doak Walker Award winner, Trick Richardson, who broke a lot of Emmett Smith's records back in Pensacola, Florida.
And welcome into the Sports Drive right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM, simulcast each and every day on Blab TV. I'm Chad Brillante, JP on the other side of the glass, holding it down. You can hear him on Talk Football with Coach K each and every afternoon right here from 12-1. And sad news earlier today. He had been battling some health issues, been battling with kidney issues, and somebody that for about 5.5 years joined us every single Thursday from paying tolls, literally in the middle of a toll. He was working on an excavator in the middle of his yard one time, cutting down some palm fronds. He had a chance one time when he was out there actually in the middle of a wedding dancing when he was on the show. When he was in Pensacola, I had a chance to sit down with him. He went to the Chamber of Commerce. Clay Ingram actually had given me a ring and let me know, and had a chance to walk up there, talk to Pat. We were able to have lunch together, and never got to have that sweet mullet with him out there at, I believe, right off of Innerary Point. Is that where it is? And just an opportunity to get to speak to him and Gene Stallings every Wednesday and Thursday. Some 35-year-old guy from up north having a chance to talk to two legends, and the opportunity, learning so much from life and culture and the way they looked at things. Because no matter what my opinion is on something, these guys lived and breathed a chance to be legends. And if you look back at Pat Dye's number, the way it ended up down there with a little bit of situations, violations that happened in Auburn, it wasn't the perfect ending. There are very few times in sports where even great coaches, and then the legendary, think about the legendary level, Bobby Bowden, Joe Paterno, Woody Hayes, names like Bo Schembechler, even Bear Bryant. It wasn't perfect. Remember, he passed right after retiring. Just, it's not always a perfect. Gene Stallings was let go. He just won a national title. It doesn't always work out perfect. And for Pat, it wasn't the perfect ending to Auburn, but go back and look at what he did during the course of his time. Incredible. Average record of a 9-2 type coach. I mean, always was recruiting. He got Bo Jackson to come play for him. That's enough said right there. Bo Jackson can be argued the greatest athlete, overall athlete in the history of the world. Depends what your form of athlete is. Is it Greek freak jumping through a building, or a guy like J.J. Watt running through a brick wall? It's up to you to decide. But Bo Jackson had it all, and he got maybe the best athlete of all time, Bo Knows T-shirts, to come to his school. JP, I know you and your family, Auburn Tigers, even before me and you were friends and met, and it's a sad day. He lived a great life. He literally lived a great life. He partied, he drank, he had fun, he enjoyed life, he made people laugh. He maybe said some things that sometimes people went, whoa, but I understand that. I say about 5 or 6 of those things all the time. But just one that it's going to hurt. And, the loss of Pat Dye today, tough news to swallow.
Yeah, the other side, my significant other, her family, big-time Auburn fans, die hard. They love it. I know her grandfather, he watches the show a lot. He listens to us all the time. Look, big Auburn fans. It's so funny just because I grew up, well, I didn't know that I didn't like Auburn until the national championship game. And then it was just one of those things with the one opportunity. But it's funny just because with me and her, I'm an Oregon fan. Her family is diehard Auburn. And Pat Dye was always somebody that came in the conversation. And I always knew Pat Dye, but it wasn't until talking with her grandfather. And that's where I really learned a lot of the stories. He, of course, growing up, and he's not that age, but that was who he watched. That was the teams that he watched. That was the good old days, what he said. And, of course, Auburn is still a great team now, but it was just different, like you said, with Pat Dye. And, one thing that he said, her grandfather, of course, that it said was, he has 99 wins. He goes, I always wish that 100th win. He goes, because I believe that 100th win would have been a national championship. Was so close to it. And he was a guy, though, that changed that program and turned that program around, which a lot of people can say, well, there was some downside after he left. Yeah, but, he brought that program up to, remember, Alabama was always king. Alabama was just king of the South. They were king for so long, and rightfully so. But Pat Dye, you heard it on the Paul Feinbaum show, caller saying, look, I grew up an Alabama fan. I tell you what, Pat was a pain in our side. And that's the way you look at Pat Dye, is he was just one of the – look, he was a man that, like you said, he lived. He was a guy that wasn't afraid to speak his mind sometimes. And a lot of times in a day where we have to be politically correct every single day, Pat Dye was a guy that he wasn't, but he was never hurtful. He was a guy that, he just genuinely loved life. He loved football. We've got a clip here, of course, talking about, in the Auburn locker room after the game. And, look, his words speak volumes. And what I mean is, this is when you talk about colleges, we hear, look, a lot of college football is getting in the negative limelight here because we talk about paying players, we talk about the universities, and they're nothing but straight businesses. And in this clip here, Pat Dye says, listen, I can go out and I can speak on the school, but you guys can go out in 5 minutes and bring this university to a different level. I think it's important. I just think, look, he started something. I won't say he started it necessarily, but he brought it to somewhere else where so many guys in the past for Alabamas and Michigans, like you were mentioning there, even going back to the old days in Nebraska and whatever, something we had never seen truly before, a man with his passion. And that's what I remember Pat Dye. That's what I will remember Pat Dye as, is a very passionate man that just purely loved life.
Any Auburn fans, SEC fans, if you want to weigh in, 850-623-1330 is the number to be part of the show. We talked a little bit, look, you have a chance. LSU for the first time has scheduled now Grambling and Southern. So some of these games where, and that doesn't mean a ton to a lot of the fans that are talking about the big names when it comes to winning a title. They won 7 top 10 games last year. But Grambling and Southern fans, a lot of them also grow up fans of teams like LSU. Yep. They're right there in the SWAC. I've called a few of those games, and guys like Eddie Robinson and what that school has meant, and especially a time right now where it doesn't matter who you are. I drove by the bridge, the peaceful protests. I want to say that cops and also our peaceful protesters out there. The city of Pensacola should be, once again, as we're a strong town, as we've talked about, I've heard your commercial talking about that, will rise up again from COVID-19. Well, when it came to this, we should be an example because we did it perfectly. And even today, George Floyd's brother comes out and he said, dude, he wouldn't want this. He wouldn't want bricks thrown through windows and people running out with 15 detergents and laughing or beating the crap out of people in the streets that were just trying to protect their business. I understand both sides. Our show's not going to be about this. You've seen enough of it this week. We'll try to give you some outlet into sports. Story like Pat Dye, obviously, is not a great one, but it's one that needs to be covered, especially when you live in the South, and what he's meant. And what he's meant to this program as well. Like I said, every Thursday, had a chance to sit down. We would give him 10 minutes. It would go 25. And he can talk. And that's coming from me. He can talk. And I'm going to miss those interviews. I know I'm real with the time we have in life. Heck, real with my time that I have in life, basically. Need to make a few life decisions. Wasn't sure if I was going to beat him out this week. But when it came down to the ultimate having a chance to learn from people that have been there, done that, regardless of what you thought of their play calling, anything, they earn that right. Coach K. Stevenson coached in the NFL. I mean, we get to do a show with him every day. Love to be there. You know how many fans would die to be on the sidelines, to have an opportunity to be there and getting to talk to these guys every day? It's a privilege. I know that, and it's an honor. And even on days where Pat's interviews, Coach Dye's interviews, as he should be called, as Coach Dye's interviews maybe got off the rails a little, one of those kind of 5 o'clock somewhere days, I'll tell you, he always found a way to respect our time, the fans' time, and tell the truth about how Auburn Tigers football was. He didn't come on here and say, we're going to go ahead and take it down, we're going to win every Iron Bowl. It was nice that the Iron Bowl in his passing left on a moment where Auburn has won it, because that hasn't been the case a lot lately. But he wasn't just an Auburn football guy. He'd go to the softball games. He would call from a gymnastics tournament. He loved equestrian, huge horseback rider. And Coach Dye had a 300-acre maple reserve out there in Quail Hollow, and having a chance to that maple reserve out there and just spent time on his farm. Just living a Southern life. And he'll be missed. He'll definitely be missed. 850-623-1330 is the number. Clemson's Dabo Swinney talking about the season ahead and some of the rules. He said, we have to accept the challenge to make change. I like Dabo's answers. Remember, he learned from Gene Stallings, and the pedigree of guys that played for Gene Stallings, think about it. They usually have made pretty decent decisions. Dabo Swinney, Dabo's a guy that was able to go out there and take a Clemson team that wasn't number one on the map and create something into what they were with Alabama. It became them and Alabama mano a mano for about 5 years. You had always Oklahomas and Ohio States and the teams sprinkled in there, but those were the two big dogs every year. Played in 4 straight college football titles, 2 of them, actually 3 of them being in the national title. 1 was outside of it. But the one thing that you can say is he can get a little energetic. He can get a little too much. Once again, coming from me. But Dabo Swinney is a guy that he definitely would show up to work, and he's willing to admit things when he's right or wrong. And he said we have to accept the challenges to make in pretty much at this point talking about a country that we are and what to do. And he says, look, we got to figure this out together. He's not going to just say, a lot of people, and there's been coaches calling out a lot of the white football and basketball coaches saying you're not saying enough because you have a voice of 100. And frankly, that's up to people to decide whether they want to stay. Not everybody has to do everything the same way. But Dabo has a voice, and in an area that is, at many times, if you've been through that area, in Greenville and Spartanburg and some of the areas, that it's segregated in a lot of ways. And I've been there 3 times, and it seems like every time it's, there's one side of the city and there's the other side of the city. And Dabo's speaking out today. He said, listening rather than releasing a statement about the protests, he said, we have so much bad news right now. Everywhere you turn, there's bad news. Today I wanted to take a moment and offer some good news. He said, we all have a choice how we love, how we respond, and how we forgive. There's no question these are challenging times. But what I have learned is when there is no challenge, there is no change. We all have to accept the challenge. Well spoken.
Another, and this is, of course, a player that, well, if you're listening to the show, you know him regardless of whether you like NFL or not. But Patrick Mahomes came out and posted a statement to his Twitter account. And I want to make this clear, too, something you said earlier. And I heard, Dominique Foxworth come on Feinbaum show before our show here a few minutes ago, and how he was disappointed in a lot of these coaches that didn't speak up. And they haven't spoke up yet. I think for a lot of people, too. And listen, I don't know how you have to be so careful, because this is where not everybody, listen, for the people out there protesting in Pensacola and other places that have done it peacefully, hats off to you, because you have been an example, and a pure example of how you go out and try to make a difference. The looting and the rioting, of course, like you said, George Floyd, his children there, they came out and spoke today and said this is not at all what he wants. This is not what we are supposed to be doing here. This is ruining what we're trying to accomplish here. And it's something that we do need to have the conversation, of course, because remember, we talk about this before. A few bad cops and a few bad people in this world, regardless of their position or where they're at, does not ruin it for everybody else. It shouldn't, because there's great people there. And I want to make that clear. I'm not taking the side of the officer, George Floyd. Make that very clear. I said that last week. I want to make that very clear. But we cannot put everybody, just because you're white, you can't put everybody in the same basket, because me and you, we go out and we like guys like Fred Robbins, Roy Jones Jr., all those guys, Derek Brooks. I'm not standing up being like, I'm the white guy, I've got 3 black friends. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, though, is I respect the heck out of these people. I don't look at them. I truly don't look at them as African Americans. I don't look at you if you're Asian. I don't look at you. I don't care about that. I come on here, and I don't live the perfect life, but I try to live, like I said before. My grandmother came out and said, listen, if we quit trying to pick people apart and find out what we have in common with each other, if we just love everybody, it sounds, for people, they scoff at that, but it's very simple if we would want to do it. But you have to want to do it in your heart. Truly, it comes down to what's in your heart. For some of these guys that are criticizing these coaches for not coming out soon enough and saying this because they're on a platform, some people aren't comfortable. They don't know how to say it. How do you properly say something? Mm-hmm. And listen, my other point to that is some of these people that have come out, they have been ridiculed. Well, you didn't use this word, or you didn't use this word. What do you want? I mean, just write it for them then. Write it for them and send it to them if that's truly how you feel, because they did. They came out and they said it. They may not have said it perfectly, but they said what they felt, and that was it. Maybe we have to remember, We're going through COVID-19 right now. We're going through something that we've never gone through before in our life. What we're going through right now with the racial injustice, all this other stuff, is something that a high majority of us have not gone through. I have not gone through it. I wasn't around during that time. I don't know what it's like. I'm not going to act like I feel you, man. I feel what you're going through. No, I don't. I have no idea. I want to try to understand what's going on here. I'm so skeptical of just following media, because media can lead you down a dark path a lot of times. Because the media can put out there what they want to put out there, whether it's good or bad. And that's why it's important to educate yourself. I try to educate myself on all kinds of things. But getting on this, Patrick Mahomes come out, I thought it was, the way he put this was absolutely perfect. He said, all I can think about is how I grew up in a locker room where people from every race, every background, and every community came together and became brothers to accomplish a single goal. You remember his father, of course, was a longtime Major League pitcher. But he said, I hope our country can learn from the injustices that we have witnessed and become more like the locker room where everyone is accepted. We all need to treat each other like brothers and sisters and become something better. Let's be the world where my little sister, generations to come, and even my future kids will grow up never having to experience these tragedies and instead love each other unconditionally. I mean, you remember, he has a white mother and a black father. He was accepted. A lot of times we have seen before where people like that growing up in schools, whether you want to admit it happened or not, aren't necessarily accepted or looked upon differently. He grew up, and I think what's so important with what Patrick Mahomes, who has a great platform, who can speak to this all he wants to. I'm sure he's lived some of this. I'm sure his parents have lived some of this. Saying that we need to treat this like a locker room, where, yeah, you have some scuffs in the locker room, but in the end, you're all going for the same goal. And those guys who aren't in the same goal, they get booted out. They're gone. They're cut. They're whatever. They're released. To me, that's the perfect way to put this right now, is treat everybody like you're in a locker room. If you played any kind of sport, if you work at a business where you're like a family, think about that for a minute and put that to life. That's no better said.
There's not, you can take, this is the type of story right now where you can take so many paths, whatever you want to choose. But I think most of the good people that you talk to, they're fighting for humanity. They understand that the racial injustice, I can't speak on behalf of it. You can't. It's not my position to do that. Understand that side too. But I think J.R. Smith's point, when two kids that were black, same color as him, when they started to throw bricks through his window because he parked in a public spot, he went outside and smashed their heads against the side of the car over and over. It didn't matter color. They were vandalizing his car. So for anybody out there that's like, you get them, we need to do this, if you can say that in front of me while a group of people of the same color of you throws bricks through your window and burns your living room, then I will accept your answer. But you're lying. You're flat out lying, because you don't want that happening to people that you know or people that you loved, because we're humans. And that kind of stuff is what you see in movies when people get burned and cities get run over by Mad Max and Mel Gibson. We don't want our society happening. I understand. And for the people talking about peaceful protests, we saw that. We saw that in Pensacola, and it was done perfectly. And you had cops walking up and hugging people. And it was done in a way where should be a blueprint. But that doesn't also push the agenda of some of the media that they want to cover, so we're not going to make the national news for that. Once again, like I said, I'm in it for humanity, but George Floyd's brother, a guy that, remember, he moved because he did have some demons. He got arrested, but he was trying to get a second start. He was literally living the life of, hey, I made mistakes and bad choices in life, and I got a fresh start. I'm trying to do the right thing now. And you think a guy like that would want to see people looting and raiding businesses where people of all color are not going to be able to show up to that business the next day? Think about that. Black Lives Matter, and the people that die completely matter, and it is so unfair to see these things. But at the same time, you know how many people in those buildings like Target that you completely burned to the ground? Probably had 200 black employees that now that they were out furloughed, didn't have a job, finally getting back into the workforce after 2.5 months laid off without anything. Their stimulus checks gone, and now they can't show up to work. So all lives should matter in that case. Those black lives should matter that have to go home, and now they have trying to work 2 jobs, and now they don't have it because both their buildings are burned down in town. Not everybody has insurance on their building, like some people are saying. They're just building it down. That's cool. They're going to get more insurance money. It's not how it works for everybody. This isn't a bunch of 60-minute type episodes where people do that on purpose. A lot of people, those buildings will never get to go back to work after waiting through the coronavirus. And I thought I'll leave this with this too. And this is from a black friend of mine who played basketball with me. But he wrote this. He owned a bar. He lives in Georgia. If you open a bar right now, you can go to jail. However, you can run around smashing my bar, burning my bar, watching it get burned, throw bricks through my bar, and that is okay. There's either law and order or there isn't. In America right now, I can't open my business or I'll go to jail, but I can watch it burn. I hope that puts perspective into where we're at right now as a society. I can't open my bar, my business for my family, because I will go to jail by law. Because bars can't be open. I've got a brother-in-law that owns a bar. He can't open it yet. Just pay attention to New York Nick. But you can burn it down, and that's okay. Think about that. And I'll leave with that. We're coming back for more Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola and Blab TV.
Anyone who has ever needed self-storage knows what a hassle it can be. You have to rent or borrow a truck and then find someone to help you move your stuff. And let's face it, moving furniture and heavy items without damaging them isn't easy. Renting the unit is worse. The hidden fees and admin costs are scarier than the dingy facilities you're leaving your stuff in. Why not use Closet Box instead? Closet Box is self-storage without leaving home. They'll pick up your belongings, store them securely, and bring any item back when you need it. The best part? Unlike traditional self-storage, you only pay for what you store. No paying for unused storage space. Closet Box's background check storage movers are licensed, bonded, and insured and will take care of all of the heavy lifting. Closet Box's local storage centers are temperature controlled and monitored 24/7. Closet Box has an A+ rating from the BBB. Call 877-233-5696 now for the season's best rates. Get $50 off first month storage using code RADIO50. That's 877-233-5696. 877-233-5696.
Some of America's bravest warriors are returning home wounded. Here's one of them.
My name is Norberto Lara. While I was on a combat patrol, a rocket propelled grenade took my arm off at the shoulder. I was discharged from the Army, and I've been working with the Wounded Warrior Project since 2007. You don't have to be severely wounded. A lot of guys have post-traumatic stress disorder. Being able to share your story kind of helps you wrap your mind around what did happen over there. My name is Normie, and yes, I do suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, but I'm okay.
Don't suffer in silence. Contact woundedwarriorproject.org.
Nick Saban has a message for us regarding the coronavirus.
First of all, I hope this message finds you and your family safe and well. On behalf of our program, we want to give thanks to all the medical professionals and caregivers in our state and across the country in these challenging times. Our daily routines have changed dramatically over these past weeks. As we have said to our team, we share the same message to all of you. Please understand the following guidelines of social distancing. We ask that everyone please wash your hands often. Stay at home if at all possible. And when you have to be out in public, make sure you keep 6 feet between you and the nearest person. We are in this together, and as one team we will get through these difficult times. And together we look forward to all that's to come, like the opportunity to play college football this fall. But the best and safest way to ensure that happens is to listen to the experts, follow their guidelines, and take care of each other. Stay safe and roll Tide.
JP here. Everyone here at ESPN Pensacola wants to send a shout out to our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. We know it's tough, but we appreciate the work you put day in and day out. We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
There's only one name in town when it comes to afternoon local sports talk. The Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante.
Some athletes don't want to be given... nobody does. No, look, when you play with your pops as it gets older, one of the most embarrassing things, my daughter's 3, I just slam it right in her face right at the play school hoop. Like right there, like I'm Zion Williamson.
The games, the players, the fans. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. We do sports, and that's all we do. We're your hometown sports station. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
I can't get enough pain. I like it rough, 'cause I'd rather feel pain than nothing at all.
And welcome back, Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Sad day around the country for many reasons. Like I said, I'm fighting for humanity, and I understand why people are angry, and I understand why the other people watching are angry. It's okay to understand it, but people that truly are okay with people burning buildings that had nothing, that are irrelevant, thousands of miles away, or watching people run out with 15 flat screen TVs smiling and going like this in front of the news as they load a bunch of flat screens into their car from throwing bricks. Their mamas aren't proud of that in any way. And I hope nobody is. That's disgraceful. And I hope we can find a way to make it stop, because nobody's agreeing with it. Mayors of predominant cities, African-American mayors of Atlanta and Chicago, are getting on the news on every network, and they're saying, stop. Enough. Go home. You're being stupid. Stop. Over and over. It's not just, I just hate to see this right now in general. Like I said, I can understand, but I hate to see it for humanity. We talked about, I got a question in here. Richard had texted in. You can also text in. We got to pull that back up, but 850-62. You don't have the password. I know. When I say that, it's not like on the whim. It's we'll pull it back up. But if you don't have time to call in, 850-623-1330. You can always text in when we can figure it out together. The password. We'll just call down there. But you can 623-1330 text in. But Richard had texted in to me here about, can a guy like what we've seen in Trevor Lawrence this year, if we play football, can Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, can they be Joe Burrow and Tua in this year's NFL draft for next year? JP, can they? Yes, but my answer to that's no. To me, Joe Burrow and Tua are rare quarterbacks, and so is Trevor Lawrence. But remember, when Trevor Lawrence went straight up, mano a mano, against Joe Burrow, there was something in Joe Burrow that said, this guy's not going to mess up. Like, he just wasn't messing up. It's like how Patrick Mahomes played this year in the NFL. How Tom Brady's done it. Peyton Manning at times. You don't expect them to make any mistakes. Remember, Trevor Lawrence airmailed, even though he's a solid quarterback, looks like, blonde Jesus, looks like sunshine right there from Remember the Titans. Great man of faith in the locker room. I wish him nothing the best, and I hope the Pats, if we go 1-15 this year with the incumbent Stidham, and we get him, make it happen. But to say that Justin Fields, remember, he threw an interception in the end zone. He had one of the most brilliant stat seasons you'll ever see in college football history. Go back and look at his stats. In his first year as a starter, his numbers were like 40. They have 45 touchdowns to one interception before the final game. Going into the college football playoff before they lost to Clemson, what were his regular season? I think they were like 40 touchdowns to one interception.
41-3 was the total.
40, but that was two. He threw
done.
two against Clemson. So, and I think he had one touchdown against Clemson. I think it was 40-1. I think he had 40 touchdown passes to one interception. No matter how you try to, well, he played for a offense that doesn't play much defense. They played, does not matter. You still played Penn State's. You still played Michigan's. You still played teams like Michigan State with defense. And you went for, you can throw one pick. You should throw one pick, it seems like, based on the stats, trying to go in at halftime and one of those bombs up in the end zone where they come down with it, and then everybody runs in, and then somebody's like, crap, I had him on my fantasy team. To have one interception the entire year is crazy. But then the two big ones in the game. So he also has something to prove when they come back. And right now, according to Las Vegas, he has the best odds to win the Heisman, even over Trevor Lawrence right now. But I don't see, I'm not saying they can't, but to me, Tua and Joe Burrow, if healthy Tua, which when he was healthy, I'm basing the guy that did play a career and led them to 2 national title games, winning one, and could have led him to another one if he didn't get hurt. 2 of the better college football players we've ever seen at their job. So no,
are you?
I'm talking about the pros.
Now here's the
pros
thing.
they will become.
But here's the thing: you got to remember, your mind can be your biggest enemy on things, and I think a lot of people, not taking anything away from Joe Burrow or Tua, but when you look at Joe Burrow, a lot of the intrigue is when he went from very mediocre.
That's true.
In 1 year to amazing, and what he did was phenomenal. I agree with you. Look, He just went after. He knew what he was going to do. He told you what he was going to do, and he went out and did it. I'm not saying that. I think there's a lot of intrigue, though, because of how simple he was. I mean, the year before, with the way the offense ran, and you go back and look, and this guy was projected to be a 6th-round pick. And we all know that that's pretty much a nobody outside of a guy when you strike gold in Tom Brady. But can they be? Sure. And I will say this. The reason I believe that they could be, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did, is because of what's built around them. That's very important when you look at a quarterback and you look at the staff that they have. And Trevor Lawrence, I think, people that say he threw 8 interceptions last year, that's insane, first off, that we just criticize this guy because he threw 8 interceptions.
And he had 6 of those in, like, the first 3 games.
Yes. He threw 36 touchdowns. And, look, this team is in Clemson. The reason I say this is we know how good Clemson is. You're giving Trevor Lawrence another year. It's his 3rd year now. I think he's kind of figured out who he is. When we see quarterbacks jump on the radar all the time their freshman year, when they finally get to start, and then they kind of go into a lull, and that's what people thought last year was for Trevor Lawrence. For Justin Fields, he's phenomenal. I mean, I think Ryan Day and those guys deserve a lot of credit because of the situations they put him in, but Justin Fields is a phenomenal athlete. I think it's more important to remember, too, for the people, just to bring this up again, but Jake Fromm shooed some of these guys out of here. And remember, people say, well, look at Justin Fields, what he did, and then look at Jake Fromm that final year for him. Well, remember, Jake Fromm also lost a ton of his offense. But a guy that to go into something else that I think could surprise you, especially when we're talking about in the NFL, there's a guy that not a whole lot of people know about. But remember, Carson Wentz came from North Dakota State. Yeah. And Carson Wentz, when you look, we looked at his numbers today on Talk Football, and the guy is a baller.
Bison.
He is an absolute baller. He has stats up there with Tom Brady and with Aaron Rodgers. And remember, he was devout of all talent last year, and he still threw for over 4,000 yards, and he still throws only 7 interceptions pretty much every single year in the league. He is phenomenal. But Trey Lance is the guy. That's the guy. This guy threw 28 touchdowns last year to 0 interceptions. This is a guy that, if we're going to talk about surprising guys to pop up as a phenomenal quarterback, I know he plays FCS. I get that. But go back and watch this kid's film. This guy is the real deal. And to be honest with you, Mel Kiper and those guys even think this is going to be the 3rd quarterback taken early in the 1st round, with people, of course, taking a guy like Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, guys like that, and then this guy. And they wouldn't be surprised if he jumps anybody. Now, we all look at Trevor Lawrence because he's the prototypical-looking quarterback. Big, tall kid, strong kid. He can move. He's got the luxurious hair, if you want to. If you're into that, I guess. But this is a guy that I think can they be? Yes, I think they can. Do I think they will? I think one of them will be.
We'll come back for more. It's a Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola. Brent Baird of Lindy Sports will join us when we return.
Nick Saban has a message for us regarding the coronavirus.
First of all, I hope this message finds you and your family safe and well. On behalf of our program, we want to give thanks to all the medical professionals and caregivers in our state and across the country in these challenging times. Our daily routines have changed dramatically over these past weeks. As we have said to our team, we share the same message to all of you. Please understand the following guidelines of social distancing. We ask that everyone please wash your hands often. Stay at home if at all possible. And when you have to be out in public, make sure you keep 6 feet between you and the nearest person. We are in this together, and as one team, we will get through these difficult times. And together, we look forward to all that's to come, like the opportunity to play college football this fall. But the best and safest way to ensure that happens is to listen to the experts, follow their guidelines, and take care of each other. Stay safe and roll Tide.
Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
Hey, seafood lovers, Shannon's Seafood Kitchen is open with dining inside and outside as well as touchless curbside pickup. The best catfish this side of the Mississippi, homemade gumbo, jumbo fried shrimp, hand-rolled Filipino-style lumpia, po' boys piled high with fresh seafood, coastal fried flounder, and fresh mullet every day. They continue to take precautions for your safety whether you dine in or take out. Open Tuesday through Saturday at 11, 7000 Pine Forest Road, or call 941-1982. Shannon's Seafood Kitchen.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from... a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favor to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen! With game day's favorite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom... Oh, dilly dilly! Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
Rumors spreading around United Texas town about the shack outside the game. You know what I'm talking about. Just let me know if you're gonna go.
I was just waiting for the part right here. Wait, here we go. All right. Here we go. It's hard to talk over ZZ Top right there. I think we've done this before on Brent. Brent Bear waiting. You know who he is. We've talked to him every Monday. He's worked with so many great companies and a guy that I've looked up to in the business so many times, from College Sports Notebook, 1010 XL Radio in Jacksonville, First Coast News, and more, and joining us to covering the Florida Gators and SEC football. And one of the guys he's covered throughout the years, passing away today. He was every Thursday he joined us here on the Sports Drive for 6 years, and a legend of the South, Pat Dye, and a fun man to be around as well. Brent, I know it's a sad day for the SEC, and very sad news to hear the passing of Pat Dye.
Yeah, and unfortunately this was coming, and we could see it over the last few weeks, and today is a day to honor one of the SEC best coaches, and I think a coach that you could say really saved the Auburn program. He was one of the toughest coaches that's ever been. Had a fascinating history to where they obviously Bo Jackson, who recruited over Bear Bryant, played and was a senior in '85. One of the few times Auburn had consecutive top 10 finishes, frankly, with Dye. And Dye was, I think, the greatest coach in Auburn history, frankly. I know the stadium is more Sherwood Jordan in the past, but Dye was a coach that amazingly played at Georgia, coached at Alabama, was a head coach at East Carolina, then Wyoming. I believe Dennis Erickson was on that Wyoming staff at one time. Then he came to Auburn, and I actually put this on my Facebook page a few minutes ago, but one of the great what-ifs in SEC history is before Auburn hired Dye, they actually interviewed Vince Dooley of Georgia. Dooley turned it down, and Vince, people may not realize or forgot, played at Auburn. Dye played at Georgia. So one of the great what-ifs would have been, what if Auburn would have hired Vince Dooley instead of Pat Dye? And it really makes you wonder, Chad, what if Pat Dye, let's say after that had happened, had went had gone to Georgia. So I mean, I'm not saying that would happen, but it's certainly fun to play stuff like that in her mind.
You know, it is. And Brent, we've known each other, talking on the phones and things that we've done for 13 years, and time's going by quick. I feel old every day. We share pictures of our kids growing up, and that's what people in the South do. And that's why it's so sad, regardless of color and everything happening today, which like we said, understand what is happening when people say Black Lives Matter and it's going on. Completely understand there needs to be change in this. But the throwing bricks through windows and burning down historical buildings, that's not the way to go. And I don't think anybody would want to see that, especially folks like Martin Luther King that fought in peaceful protests, marching down the streets. They would not want to see people looting and raiding innocent private buildings that people are just trying to show up to work in small businesses. But what's happening right now, that's bigger than that. And obviously with the coronavirus, if we go back in a time machine and get rid of 2020, we would. Pat Dye is a guy that is somebody that is such a world traveler. What I mean by that is when it comes to football, you think a guy that went to Auburn and he finished living his life in Auburn but played at Georgia. A lot of people don't know, and because he joined us for about, I'd say we did over 700 shows together over the years. And when we were talking all the time, he told me stories off the air of when he played it with Edmonton and the Eskimos, where there were games where literally in the 1960s, they didn't have all the resources or social media or technology. Mm-hmm. And he said one game, the team looked down at their shoes and one of the linemen couldn't move because they'd called 2 timeouts. And by the time the 2 timeouts were done, there was so much snow that they couldn't even move their feet. That they had to call another timeout to get a shovel so they can move. That was the type. So you think Georgia football, you played for it, and he was an offensive lineman and a linebacker. Like that, you're experiencing both sides of being a leader. Then he went and coached East Carolina, which I know a lot from being at UCF and Pirate Nation. Yep. They've got their crowd, but a completely different life over in East Carolina. Then he went to Wyoming, where very few people, I make a joke all the time on the show, I've never actually met somebody from Wyoming, but it does exist. Laramie does exist. I know they have the biggest rodeo that got canceled this year. But overall, Wyoming, I've never seen like, hey, it's Chip from Wyoming. Be like, I didn't know anybody was from. But that's the thing is he's coached all over, and then he comes back to Auburn. And if Auburn fans today, even with Cam Newton and their success throughout the years that they've had, and even right now expecting a good season, one of the top defenses in the country, winning the Iron Bowl. Brent, if somebody said to me, just fumble the football in my hands, if somebody said to me that Auburn could win the SEC title once out of every 3 years, 33% of somebody's career as a coach, they would take that and never look back. And that's what they did under Pat Dye. They won 4 under 12 years. 1 every 3 years, pretty much the math of during his career, they won the SEC title with all those teams like Florida and Tennessee in their heydays winning titles. Teams like Alabama, still great with Gene Stallings and legends. They did that and were able to go and win 1 out of every 3 years with Pat Dye. He was an incredible coach. Yeah.
No, there's no doubt. And he was and again, Auburn suffered through the Doug Barfields, and Dye came along and instilled some pride and toughness with them. Now, look, I don't hesitate to say this at all. Dye's practices would not be allowed today. I mean, what they did as far as scrimmaging and the physicality of it, that would not have happened. But look, I think Coach Kubelik was quoted not too long ago as saying that Auburn players under him they would be sore for a year and a half, but because of how physical it was, there's no question that the biggest thing that Dye did was to bring the Iron Bowl to Auburn beginning in '89, and that was. And I don't know if anybody else would have been able to have done that to get it away from Birmingham and Legion Field during that point. But I mean, he had 17 different All-Americans, and one thing I thought was interesting was there's a tweet today from Alabama's Bobby Humphrey and Cornelius Bennett, and both of them are very close to Dye, and frankly still are. Bo Jackson almost came to Alabama Bama wanted to play him like at a linebacker or tight end, and Auburn wanted him as a running back. So timing is a lot, and Dye was able to take advantage of Ray Perkins and also Bill Curry. Dye got in trouble with the NCAA with the investigation and the rules violations before the 1992 Iron Bowl, which, by the way, was on Thanksgiving, one of the last times it was ever on Thanksgiving. Told the team he was retiring, and this was his last game to fire them up. It was 7-0 at half, and went on to win 17-0. But and I think and I'm wondering if this surprised you a little bit too, and what Dye said to you about it at some point when Dye retired from Auburn. I think what I've been told that he was 53. And Chad, I really do wonder if Dye really wanted to coach again at that point, or if the NCAA investigation and just at that point that he was too tired and he just wanted to be without football, at least for a while.
Well, and as you know, and you grew up in Alabama, I did not, but having a chance to, like I said, I've had just as many conversations with him and Lynn Huggins, his producer, who talks and shares pictures of her family and her kids going to college. Heck, I feel like I remember when they were little, and now they're all grown up and heading out there to universities around Alabama. And the thing is, when we talked off the air, he loved out in his Maple Reserve. He actually invited us out a few times. I could not make it. I regret those decisions. He actually invited me also to the Peach Bowl to sit with them, and I'm sure a couple of the big names when Auburn played UCF in our fake national title. I don't regret that decision because I would have made a fool of myself because I probably couldn't have held back my cheers and that fake parade we end up having, and he probably would have never called back on the show. But I will say, though, that having a chance to talk to him and Gene Stallings Wednesdays and Thursdays forever, I learned so much because anybody that, and we've talked, Brent, and you're learning every day too, but true sports fans like JP and I and you, we are in this business because we truly love the stories and the integrative experience, and we respect the heck out of the people that have made it to the top level of the sports we cherish and cover. Whether you agree with all their terms or not, we get it. We do a show. Both of us host a show with Coach Kay Stevenson, former NFL coach for the Buffalo Bills, who played at Florida with Spurrier. And Kay has done so much. He has stories upon stories. But regardless if we agree or disagree with his opinion, he coached on the sidelines in the NFL against guys like Don Shula. So there's that respect factor. Just like a Pat Dye, there were times where maybe he had a couple it was 5 o'clock somewhere, right? The Jimmy Buffett song when he was on air.
Yeah.
And it might have led to his demise today and things, but we all make decisions, and he's not the only one in the South. But he loved life. And you know what? Half of those 5:45 interviews on Thursday, Brent, he was in the stands at an Auburn softball game. He was in the stands at an equestrian event that barely had many people probably out there besides the parents. He was at a golf tournament walking with the Auburn players. He was an Auburn fan, not just I love Auburn football, to watch and celebrate and roll trees at Toomer's Corner. He was truly an Auburn sports fan and loved Auburn with everything. And that's hard to get people like that today, that truly will never turn it off and do the things, even not to just be in the spotlight, but sit on the sidelines when somebody's talking during an equestrian event because you support your team that much.
I will always say that Dye, and he downplayed this, I bet he did with you too, Dye had tremendous influence at Auburn, and not just with football, but with other sports. But and look, before Auburn made decisions, Auburn checked with Dye, and I will be very interested to see who gets that void filled from Dye. And maybe not over the last 2 or 3 years, but I can assure you many years Dye signed off verbally or whatever on a lot of the Auburn hires, a lot of what happened around there, because he was looked upon, and I think always will be looked upon as probably the greatest influence on Auburn football. And that's not discounting what Chuck Jordan did, but But look, Dye, when you look at the litany of coaches they had, I think he was by far their best.
You know, and I've seen a lot of people because I like people that don't just try to sugarcoat it. I was at a funeral, and one guy was like, you know what I loved about him? He showed up every day. He drank a ton. He would get. I probably called him a cab every night. But one thing is, I knew he left over 7 times on Monday, and he always paid his bill. That's what the guy said. And we all laughed, and they weren't trying to say he was the perfect person. This guy died in his 50s, and he was an alcoholic. But guess what? He was somebody's family member, and they loved him there. But they found a positive in it. And Pat Dye's story doesn't go out perfectly when it comes to college football, but we started to reel off names, and Steve Spurrier's, the HBCs, didn't go out perfect at Florida. You had a situation, Bobby Bowden's. Remember, they personally, a legend with statues who created FSU pretty much, had to be pushed out by the alumni base to say, Bobby, your time has come. A coach in waiting they had to call and get him out of there at 8-4 seasons. You watched guys, I mean, it's been that way with Philip Fulmers, Woody Hayes getting kicked out, Bear Bryant, Joe Paterno, a legend that what happened to him at the end. We're talking about the biggest names of sports. It wasn't always perfect. And so Pat's story is no different and shouldn't be looked at any different than many legends, and that's what he was to the South.
I would say that my Mount Rushmore for SEC football would be Bryant and Saban and Spurrier and maybe the general Neyland at Tennessee. But I can tell you right now, if you expanded that to another 4, I think Dye would probably be on there.
Yeah.
Frankly, but because of the influence he had at Auburn and on the league and how they were able to win SEC championships while he was there on a regular basis. So I would be interested to see how his legacy will go on the next few years.
Brent, I wish we had more time. I got this interview rolling a little late here, and I apologize for that, but we have to get to a break. I appreciate your time, my friend, and hope peace and everything, because I know Jacksonville, as the city it is today, I just hope there's peace there and peace in many people across this country's heart today.
Chad, always great to be on with you. As I go, I will let your listeners know a bit of a bright spot today. I do have Athlon in my hands.
All right.
Lindy's will be out next week, so we'll get on with that next week and talk about it some more. But if you're looking for something to read to get your mind off the what's on the television, the newspapers, that will be a good place to start.
That's awesome, Brent. Hey, appreciate it, my friend, and we'll talk here soon.
Good. Take care, pal.
All right, Sports Drive coming back for more right here.
Why go to the pharmacy when the pharmacy can come to you? Gulf Breeze Apothecary offers free delivery to customers in Gulf Breeze and Pensacola Beach. Got questions with medications or COVID-19? Just give them a call and they'll be glad to help you. If you need a mask or hand sanitizer, they have that too. Along with free delivery, they have a drive-thru and a mobile app for easy refills. Gulf Breeze Apothecary, right across from Andrews Institute.
Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
It's hurricane season. Escambia County Emergency Management has 3 things you need to know. Know your zone. Do you live in a hurricane evacuation zone? Go to BeReadyEscambia.com, find your zone, and what to do if it's evacuated. Know your home. Is it prepared for a hurricane? With COVID-19, the safest place may be at home instead of a shelter. Know your plan. Where to stay if you're evacuated. Confirm plans now with family or friends before the storm. For more information, go to BeReadyEscambia.com.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back. Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. You know, we always talk about in history, never getting rid of it from the history books, never taken away because we need to learn from our mistakes. But kids in like 30, 57, if we're all still around, I mean, we won't, unless you're trying the Ted Williams, Walt Disney, come back after being frozen. But over in year 4000, kids learning, I really do hope they take 2020 right out of the books. Just what happened this year? Why did we go 2019 to 2021? None of your business, buddies. Don't worry about it. Just move it along, because it just seems every single day
it's going to seem like a sci-fi novel.
It gets worse and worse. I mean, think about it. Even the things that we're not even talking about, but the Olympics were canceled.
The Little League World Series was canceled.
The rodeo in Wyoming never had been canceled. The biggest rodeo.
Madison Bumgarner was supposed to be in it.
He was. Rudy Gobert's hugging kids, getting them. Ed Ogeron won Coach of the Year. Listen, I was go Tigers. Like, enjoyed it, but now he's out here jogging in Destin, keeping his social distance, maybe trying to find Mrs. Ogeron too. But you know, Tom Brady's a buck. I mean,
yes.
On that note,
alone, it's unbelievable what's happened this year. And
even the ones outside of the coronavirus and what's happening with right now, the riots.
Yes. We're saying from the sports level of things.
Jerry Krause comes on and wants to we're watching documentaries of him wanting to get rid of Jordan and Phil Jackson. Like, now you just want to Major League Baseball, though, proposing ideas. Now, the owners, remember, are owners and want to make cash. We're going to talk about this more in the second hour, but the idea of the 114 games, the possibility of that.
It's not going to happen.
That's not going to. No. Well, they're talking about. They're trying to roll into the end of June. No, we're not playing baseball in June outside of your Dinos. Are crushing it right now. Been watching them.
Big fan.
Doosan Bears ruined it. I stayed up until 4 a.m. to watch that game. 3-3 tie. They came back.
1 o'clock in the afternoon. They replay it.
Have you noticed like the big American guys, though, and the other guys, the foreigners to the league, they don't run out anything. They're all...
They know better.
No slap money. No Ichiros over here. We're coming back for more Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola, Lab TV.
This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Coming up on the Sports Drive, well, we'll talk some local news as UWF head basketball coach Jeff Burkhammer continues to have a great offseason. Somebody's having a good 2020. We'll talk Major League Baseball and the proposed plans ahead and why the owners might want to just sit back, relax, and act like Wimbledon with pandemic insurance. They don't have any, though.
Has just become the NFL's all-time leading rusher. Across the middle, it is caught for the first. It's Baldwin shaking free and sprinting down the sideline for the touchdown. His third of the day. Doug Baldwin.
Derek Brooks, who ran back 3 interceptions for touchdowns in the regular season, does it to cement the Super Bowl.
Boxing's elite, the new WBA heavyweight champion of the world, Roy Jones Jr.
Baldwin beaten. The result has come up on screens that Gatlin's taken it. Goodness me, it was a blue American vest. 992 the Gatlin. 992 by the American champion to take gold.
Another Watson is wearing a green jacket at Augusta. And this time, his name is Bubba. Scores on a 34-yard touchdown run by the Doak Walker Award winner, Trent Richardson, who broke a lot of Emmett Smith's records back in Pensacola, Florida.
And welcome back. Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Simulcast each and every day on Blab TV. John holding down the fort back there. Appreciate him letting us know here today. I know they have a lot of things going on right now. You do have the election year coming up here, and Blab TV doing a great job of covering a lot of the folks running in office, and they also do a lot with the Studer community and a lot of things coming in and out. I know Quentin's taking on a lot, all the folks down there, Doug, Rick, and Paul, and the folks like John and the whole crew over there. So Hank, everybody that's listening right now, you guys rock back there, and we're able to get it in today. So thank you guys, I know, to get the show rolling. JP, doing a great job as always. On a tough day, legendary Auburn coach Pat Dye. He was a regular on our program for over 6 years. Over the last couple months, if you've just been tuning in, he was going through some kidney failure. He did get the coronavirus. At the time, it was said to be asymptomatic. We don't know all the details. I'm not the doctor. I wasn't there. So, I went today to a cardiologist and don't have all the answers. Okay, so there's a lot of things that people need to understand that you don't always know with your body and health. And he was 80, and he liked to tip back on the bottle a little. But he was a great human being. And he had more weddings. He watched more people celebrate one of the biggest moments of their life than probably maybe any human being ever. I can't base that on any fact. But at Quill Hollow Reserve, I know at one point he said, shoot. And he said exactly like that. He said, shoot, Chad, I think we had like 200 this week. That sounded like Pat Dye, too. I think we had about 200 this week. And then he started making a joke that he was on an excavator and is cutting down some trees. But he didn't like Charlie Weiss either. We know that. But Coach Dye, his name will go down as one of those, as Brent Baird said, almost on the Mount Rushmore. Would you put him on the Mount Rushmore? It's a tough list. Honestly, to me, it'd be really tough. To me, he's in that boat when you look at Philip Fulmer's, Vince Dooley's, Pat Dye's. Names we know, but then there's those names. Bear Bryant, Nick Saban, Steve Spurrier. He's not that, but he's the Gene Stallings. He's the guys right there and what they've accomplished.
I wouldn't put him on the list, but he's one that just for people out there.
He could have been if he was able to coach longer. But he also has
Mount Rushmore. We have to remember too. There's some of the greatest coaches, and look, there's some coaches that have far better accolades. If you want to just bring accolades into it, that aren't going to be on that list either. So when I say this, I mean this with complete respect. It's tough to get on that list, obviously, but. He is definitely one that ranks in there. I don't. It's so tough with guys like this because it's like ranking all-time best players. Like it's like ranking who's better, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Times have changed. How would these people are like? Well, how would these coaches coach nowadays with everything that's going on? Well, you know what? They didn't have to. I'm sure they would be able to change. It's the same thing when you talk about who's better, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. What does it matter? Who's better? How can you truly compare one to the other? That's what I want to know. And this list, when you talk about Pat Dye, just
did you say LeBron or Michael though?
I did.
Oh, it's MJ. But continue.
I know. I know. Jeez.
Continue,
I've heard that plenty.
Continue.
But what I'm getting at in all this is just instead of everybody gets so butthurt whenever you say one is better than the other. Look, everybody has their opinion, rightfully so. If people want to say that LeBron is better than MJ, okay, as long as you can back it up, cool. It's your opinion on there. But for Pat Dye, look, he was a fantastic coach. I think it's one of those things that, hearing people talk about putting him on Mount Rushmore, sure, if he wants to be on yours, that's fine. But accept him and just appreciate what Pat Dye did because he was so good. So many guys. You look at going back to Bo Jackson. I know there's some things that people want to point fingers at. Listen, just appreciate the man and what he did to coaching and talking to players that played for him. Just appreciate the type of person he was. But I think, Brent, what he said, listen, Pat's practices would not be allowed today. You know what? A lot of coaches' practices, some of the practices I went through going through high school would not be allowed. Not saying they were terrible, but just because the way you go about things is different now. And you know what? Pat Dye, it's a shame it happened. But once again, it goes back to something that I think it's very important for guys like this is we celebrate their life. You celebrate Pat Dye. Because he did live a good life. He lived the way he wanted to live. He didn't suffer hopefully very long. He went through some stuff, but even going through some of the stuff, he always had a great attitude. And I think that's important just to remember.
Well, and remember, too, you can always slice a story the way you want it. Pat Dye had just as many SEC Coach of the Year awards at Auburn as Nick Saban had at Alabama. Now, that sounds at first, you go, that's absolutely not true, right? It is. Now, winning the Coach of the Year doesn't mean sometimes it's given to that coach. Like Mark Stoops won it in 2018 because Kentucky went 10-3. You know what I'm saying? Alabama during those years, you had Kirby Smart win it the year before. You had Jim McElwain win it. Not a joke. This is not a joke. This isn't a test. You had Gary Pinkel win it. You had Gus Malzahn and Kevin Sumlin win it. Once again, this is not a test. Just goes to show you. Sometimes it's given because we're like, yeah, it's got 3 speeds. So Sly Kroom won it one year because he got Mississippi State to an 8-5 record. Now that I'm looking at this, now this is right from
Little Sylvester Kroom.
Now this is from the SEC Index, but I'm now I'm going to double check. I'm going to fact check this list at the beginning of it because it is. I mean, this is the list, but I'm questioning the list now at the same time when an 8-5 Sly Kroom's winning the Coach of the Year. But that's, hey, you know what? It is what it is. It just goes to show you though that you can slice a story. It's like what's happening in the country. We've seen every angle. I'm just in it for humanity, and I hope and pray every day. I can't ever understand physically what a lot of my friends and a lot of people are going through. But at the other, I do, and I'll say this with a bold statement regardless, I don't think George Floyd or any human being with a heart wants to see innocent people and buildings watching them burn and bricks through the window of people that are just trying to show up finally to work and watching this happen. That's not how any mama wants to raise their kid. But from football standpoint, it is one that Pat, his name doesn't get talked about because people a lot of times, and even Auburn fans, a lot of times they'll focus on the situations that they heard. It was in a good ending. Pat stayed, remember, he's athletic director too. He stayed around for a while. And a lot of people wanted him to go. They said, you know what? He's been here for a while. He is so Auburn that he wants to control a lot, and other people wanted to make decisions. And everybody's not going to always agree with a stubborn old Southern guy. A Southern gent that's been there for a while is not always going to get people to agree with him. And you mixed bag. I've talked to Auburn fans, being in this business for a decade here across the panhandle of Florida and having a chance to broadcast in SEC country. I know for a fact I've talked to many people that said, man, I was glad to see him go, but I always miss him. But if you look at the records and what he accomplished, able to get Bo Jackson, like we said, being able to recruit Bo Jackson and be able to to just get a guy that maybe was the greatest college football player ever. You can argue that. Herschel Walker, a lot of guys. But Tim Tebow's, Vince Young's. But if you want to talk about a guy that was able to get possibly the greatest football player ever to play college football, that's a pretty good accolade to get him to come play for you. That's high honors. Just like what you were thinking when Gene Chizik got Cam Newton to come over and make that happen. I think that's not at all where you're going to go with that.
I do want to mention this too.
John Brantley with
talking about college football. Just maybe a lot of people haven't heard this yet, but Justin Ross, the top receiver, of course, over 1,100 yards last year, or 800 yards. I'm sorry, not 1,100 yards for Clemson is now ineligible. Not ineligible for the year, but will be out this year because this is actually before you Alabama fans or whoever you are out there start cheering because good, they lost one of their good wide receiver, their best wide receiver returning right now. This is actually a lot more serious. So. Look, he suffered what they thought was a stinger during a scrimmage in the final practice session, of course, before coronavirus started. Because remember,
it wasn't a murder hornet, was it?
No, it was not.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Those are old news now.
Yeah, that's like list
that was
Ocho.
1 week.
That's on the Ocho page now. We're over that, man.
But the X-ray revealed he had something a little bit more obviously I guess important congenital fusion in his spine, which is something that he's actually had. But he did not realize that he was born with this, and it's obviously now a problem here. They're going in there to do surgery. He's obviously ruled out for this year, but depending on the surgery, just because, listen, there's always risk here. He may not be able to play again. So just for Justin Ross and all that, look, that's a shame. You hate it because, look, I don't care what team a guy's on. I really don't. For guys that go through this kind of stuff, you see it with Ryan Shazier. Yeah. Just to see, you've seen guys have something tragic like that happen and to try to come back. Even Mackenzie Milton and what he was able to do with UCF, just There's tons of guys. I mean, Alex Smith, Joe Theismann. Look, I mean, to have injuries that are just tragic like that, you hope that this is not something that can that will ruin their career. But Justin Ross is out, and you know what? Amari Rodgers is now the guy. This is a team that look, you lost some talent, obviously, so this is going to be interesting. I know that Clemson, like a lot of these teams every single year, will revamp, but this is a big-time blow because Justin Ross was going to be a potential first-round pick in the NFL draft this year, and you know he was going to be an ample part because this is a guy that, of course, has been right there with Trevor Lawrence. They come in together. They were going to be, 1-2 punch, of course, this year after you look at what T. Higgins did with almost 1,200 yards last year. So that's a tremendous blow to this Clemson team. I don't care who you bring in. That's still a big-time blow to your offense.
Yes, it is. And frankly, I thought the way that he came out when he beat Alabama, I mean, he truly, the plays that he made in the secondary wasn't the best secondary ever. Remember, Alabama had just lost over the last couple years Marlon Humphrey. They had just lost guys like you'd watch Eddie Jackson and, big Dre Kirkpatrick. Big names had just left for the NFL. But at the same time, what you did see was a guy just dominate. Remember, that punch that Justin Ross gave them in that first national title, where people were shocked in the second half. How many were sitting there like every Alabama game? Because if you watch any Alabama game over the last decade, even this year's LSU game, I'm watching it with the LSU Alumni Club, Bayou Bengal Club. Cordova Lanes, our great sponsor, Steve Reynolds and the folks, just opened. If you want to get out there to the lanes, great deals, like $2 bowls going on tomorrow. It's awesome. Those people are awesome. Steve's a great man. It's his birthday, too. But they have the whole Bayou Bengal Club, and we're watching the game, and they're playing against Alabama, and you're still going when they're up by, they took that huge lead where it went a little freaky-deaky right before half, where the pick, and then they just added more points. So you looked at the board, it was already 3 touchdowns. Everybody still, because it's Alabama, go, all right, it's going to be that moment. We all know that moment. And there was. And then Joe Burrow picked up that 3rd and 8 with his legs and made the play. When it came down to Clemson, Alabama, even when Clemson took that big lead, remember, they stopped twice. Christian Wilkins and the guys, without Dexter Lawrence hurt, still stepped up and made those key 4th down plays. Don't know about the play calling. I felt like it was almost like the battle of the 300. This is Sparta. Like they just ran plays where they did a QB draw to the left. Like our offensive linemen are bigger than yours, and we're going to push through Farrell and Wilkins and all these guys and score. And then he got pushed back. Remember, it's 4th and 5 to a loss, 5 yards on the play. There was tons of those red zone moments that didn't do anything, and they kept smashing them. Justin Ross was an intricate part of that and what he did offensively. I thought he was going to have a bigger season last year. I know that you spread the wealth out there, but the injury right here.
Did you say Dexter Lawrence was hurt?
Was out.
I was about to say, he was not hurt.
He was hurt emotionally.
Oh,
he's a beast, too, in the NFL. He's good. He's
good.
Missing a 6'4", 340-pounder, and you still...
And I'm not going to say one's better than the other. He did take, what was it, Ostarine or something, which is
he had
for
osteoporosis.
Yeah, it's...
Isn't that for, you drink milk, right? Isn't that what we're talking about? That's the commercials say.
You drink a gallon of milk.
That's right. Just a gallon of whole milk. You're good, right?
We dope these cows up. We drink their milk, and sometimes you get busted.
Remember as kids when we thought truly that things like milk and grilled cheeses were good for us? Our mom would make us...
I'm still going to believe that.
Our mom would make us creamy tomato soup with grilled cheese and a whole glass of whole milk, and you thought oh man, this is the exact way. And then as you get older, you realize if you just drink nothing but whole milk and eat breads, grilled cheeses all day, you're not... First off, you're gonna have a hard time for a week in one department, and then in the second part of that, you're not gonna be that guy running a marathon anytime soon. Just let's put it that way. No caffeine's getting to me right now. I'm just saying. No caffeine. It's annoying. We're coming back for more Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola, Flav TV.
Bowling is a sport that will last you a lifetime, and at Cordova Lanes on Airport Boulevard, every night there is something exciting happening. Like on Tuesday and Thursday, it's penny a pin. Bowl 100, pay $1. Or how about starting your weekend off right by reserving a lane for just $25 at Moonlight Bowling. Enjoy a fresh-made pizza and the lowest pitcher prices in Pensacola. So what are you waiting for? It's time to roll your way into Cordova Lanes and experience fun like never before.
JP here with Talk Football and the Sports Drive. At ESPN Pensacola, we're hometown proud. We love our hometown heroes like Super Bowl champion and NFL Hall of Famer Derek Brooks.
The Super Bowl, and they're trying to win it for us. Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon, throws up the middle. It's intercepted at the 30. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25, 20. Derek Brooks all the way.
This is former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Washington High School alum, Derek Brooks. You listen to ESPN Pensacola.
Football season never ends on Talk Football with Coach K.
Stidham is tearing it up at New England. He may well be the incumbent to Tom Brady there.
Former head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Coach K brings his expertise as he breaks down the game, the players, the coaches, and the front office. Plus, high-profile interviews from the biggest names in football. Talk Football with Coach K every weekday from noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. Like the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, Roy Jones Jr.
Three-time light heavyweight world champion and former heavyweight champion of the world, future Hall of Fame legend, Roy Jones Jr.
What up? It's your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
JP here. Everyone here at ESPN Pensacola wants to send a shout out to our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. We know it's tough, but we appreciate the work you put day in and day out. We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
My son Aiden has asthma. Secondhand smoke has triggered his asthma so badly, he ended up in the emergency room and spent multiple nights in intensive care. Now he's on a whole bunch of medications. My tip to you is, don't be shy about telling people not to smoke around your kids.
Half of U.S. kids are exposed to secondhand smoke. If you or someone you know wants help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
There's only one name in town when it comes to afternoon local sports talk. The Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante.
Some athletes don't want to be given... nobody does. No, look, when you play with your pops as it gets older, one of the most embarrassing things, my daughter's 3, I just slam it right in her face right at the play school hoop. Like right there, like I'm Zion Williamson.
The games, the players, the fans. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. We do sports, and that's all we do. We're your hometown sports station. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
And welcome back, Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. It's been a tough day, obviously, around the news, watching the news, and then legendary Auburn coach Pat Dye, somebody that was for 5 years, 5.5, 6 years, part of the show each and every Thursday, and it's going to be missed. And having the opportunity to talk to him, meet him in person twice, and chance to sit down and talk to him. Like I said, never got that mullet with him, but still is one that I feel like having the conversations, I've learned a lot. And that's something in my line of profession that I got into broadcasting. Look up to people like that each and every day. Working with Coach K. Stevenson or getting to talk to the Gene Stallings and Pat Dye each week. So I'm very thankful for our time, and I know he's in a better place today. And he's making people laugh up in heaven, and that's a good thing here today. 850-623-1330 is the number. Major League Baseball, what answer at this point? We've seen proposals for 114-game season, June 31st through October 31st. We've seen talking about half the games, 81, 82 games with pay cuts. We've also seen the owners that have gotten to a point where they said, we're fine not paying you at all. And then you've seen baseball players saying, we're not going to take half. Well, guess what? Half's better than nothing. JP, where do you see, because it seems like every day, while the NBA, that a lot of times people don't always get along with the scandals, with referees and the things before, the flops, they'd implement a rule for flopping. It got out of control. We're watching videos of the Bad Boys and Rodman and the Bulls and what basketball used to be like at the good times, the good old days. And now we're watching a league that is unified. The NBA's, you had Ramon Shelbourne out there talking about, Ramona was talking about how they're ready to, whenever they get things rolling and whatever they have to do, social distancing, no fans, they're going to be on the same page. Or baseball, you even got your leaders, the guys that you're supposed to be looking up to, and they don't know what to say. And it has a lot to do, I would say, JP, with the game being international too. Because remember, 52% of the game today is international players from all over, the Dominican, Netherlands, Japan, all over the world. And a lot of these people, they don't speak up. A, they not always speak English, and two, they're like, I don't want to touch this. They just smile. So you don't have as many people that are going to voice. But where do you come out with where we're going to have, because baseball is a huge sport, and I'm not getting to watch my Red Sox games right now. I'm getting a little salty. No caffeine, migraines, going to the hospital. You got to give us a base, but give me a couple Sox games. That's all. I sound like that guy now, just yelling at things for.
Well, it seems like
the
the league is kind of, it's been going back and forth. The 114 games, moving forward. We'll see what happens with that. And look, I know we got a phone caller, so we'll get into it in a second.
We can continue. I mean, we can. 850-623-1330 is the number. Caller, who's this?
Nope, they're gone. All right.
We'll continue back.
Oh wait, here we go. All right, here we go. Getting them back on.
Let's make this happen. Caller, who's this?
This is Jeff. I want to send my condolences to Pat Dye and stuff. And it was fun listening to him every week for, like you said, the last 5 years and stuff. I like it. When he talked about other sports, like he said, hopefully Auburn would do well, and like baseball and and stuff. On the baseball thing, I feel like with the NBA, it's a lot. Maybe you're protecting the players. I feel like it's a lot easier for NBA players because they played about 70 games. I'm not going to put the blame on either side for the owners or the players because the pandemic essentially affected their sport and stuff. And I feel like, the sports that caught the break were the NFL. I'm not going to get into why, and I feel like the NHL and the NBA. So I don't really fault the players. I'm going to come back no matter what because I'm just a diehard and stuff. But, I feel bad for, people like fans and, the families and, they won't, I don't know. It's just, things happen and, I think I have a different perspective because, I lost my dad to lung cancer this year.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. I don't really take this as serious as some other people, that are really mad, and stuff, that work on MLB Network and stuff, because I just went through a rough time, and I appreciate y'all being there and stuff. But I'm just, that's just the way I feel about it. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jeff, and, that is unfortunate to hear that, regardless of whatever your situation is, but we appreciate you calling in every day. Jeff, I think Jeff's right, too. The NBA, it is different. People need to understand this is completely different just because the NBA and teams like the NHL, they've already played the majority of their games. Technically, it's a lot easier for them coming back because now you're just playoffs. For these other people like MLB, for NFL, NFL and college football, I hate to say, nobody is lucky at this time, but they're kind of the lucky ducks in all this because of timing when this all happened. So you're just taking away some of their off season, and that's about it. We seem that we're going to have football. For the MLB, though, this is interesting enough, and I'm on both sides of the fence here at the same time where I do want to just see baseball. I am more of an old soul when it comes to baseball just because I love the games. I love the old traditional style of things. I'm not a big person as much. I'll talk about change on a lot of things. Like I said, when the MLB expanded playoffs, I was not necessarily a big fan outside of being a fan of baseball just because, once again, I like the old school way of doing things. But you know what? Things change, more money. I get it's a business. In this, we see that the Players Association, of course, been butting heads. We talked to Greg Litton about this. 114-game season, which basically would go through June to the end of August, is not it was more of a slap in the face, but you know what? The Players Association knew it was going to be denied. They saw it as more of a bridge. That's what they wanted this to be, of kind of where we're going to be here. The prorated salary seems to be a thing that's where they're going to draw the line. I don't think they're going to back up from this, the players. Now, what's coming out right now, it hasn't been officially released, but Jeff Passan, who's done a great job during all this guy, where people have had off seasons, he has had none this offseason. The entire time he has been working, because he is basically the voice for baseball on ESPN, has said that right now it's rumored to be MLB is going to release somewhere in the 50 to 60 game regular season games with. Now, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know what's all with this, but prorated salaries, full prorated salaries and all this, which is less than what the players would want, because the players wanted half of it. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. If it's 50 to 60 games, that's less than the players are going to make a significantly less margin here, obviously. But it's a way that really, if this is a 50-game regular season, this is going to be, exciting from the get-go. Even from a half a season, you're talking 50 games. The way that players are utilized, pitchers, players in general, whatever, it's going to be something like we've never seen before. Obviously, with COVID-19 going on, there's a lot of things we haven't seen before. But, this is kind of what they're going. 50 games, and they'll be paid their salary for those 50 games, and that's it. That's what's rumored to be out right now. If that's the case, you know what? The players may do it, because their whole thing here has been prorated salary. That's where they draw the line. I don't know.
Who pays a little extra, though, and gets San Diego, gets the Pittsburgh Pirates, gets the Detroit Tigers, gets the Chicago White Sox, gets the Baltimore Orioles, that's you guys didn't even play the Yankees, or you didn't play the Bo Sox. You didn't. Where's the Dodgers on you? Well, just how the cookie crumbles here. Just ends up by that time you have 12 series.
And you're 40-10 because you played the Bozos the whole time. Yet the Yankees don't make the playoffs at 35 wins.
And that's why even with UCF when they went undefeated, I make a joke. But it's about the games that they play. Everybody you still have to watch the eye test in everything in life, not just sports. The eye test should always be, number one, what you see. You should not watch a guy dancing with a Molotov cocktail, going like this and throwing it through a window of a car.
Down.
I know, I can't be doing this.
You need to calm down.
But you shouldn't watch that and then be like, oh, man, it's all in his neck. No, that's from the movie The Purge. We don't do this. But at the same time, the people in Pensacola sitting there, peaceful protesting with the arms, and the cop walking up and hugging them and everything that happened. Man, what a great honor to live in the city we did, the way that the protest went down. That is one of our constitutional rights as this country was founded. Our country was founded on protests. Now, people said not always peaceful. Yeah, in the 1700s, they also had to make laws on prohibition and stuff, Boston Tea Party and things, and houses were raided and people were hung in streets. So let's not all compare to everything that happened in the 1700s, all right? People were tarred and feathered in public. But at the same time, we do need to understand that the way that Pensacola did it spoke volumes. It made me proud to live in this city. It made me also, it's a wake-up call to a lot of people of how many people, because regardless of what you think, when masses show up, the masses, that means that those people spent their weekend, and some of them care about coronavirus. Like I said, it's going to be hard to convince people not to go play football right now when I've literally watched probably 20 to 30,000 people in mass groups all over the country gathering in huge groups and walking the streets. Are we supposed to forget that the virus is still there?
I thought that's forget about that.
Forget about that right now. But that's not the flavor right now. So let's not. But at the same time, after watching that, how is it? And people bringing their kids out there and things like that. Still, the little girls shouldn't get bear mace. But all of that stuff that happened, how can you watch that and say we can't get football game in, social distancing with 20,000 fans? It's hard to convince me you can't have a popcorn vendor after watching 50 people gather around and beating a guy in the street, or 50 people protesting together in arms and peace, because there's both sides, and I want to share both sides. It's something that we need to understand, that it's going to be hard after watching everything I've seen. and seeing the beach, and the bridge was backed up for about an hour and a half this week on Saturday. After everything, the Memorial Day this week, we had most people on Pensacola Beach. The numbers came in. Most people on the beach during Memorial Day, and I know that might, to some, there's a reason for that. I'm not going to get into more details.
A little bit different this year, though.
A little different this year, a little different. But more people felt they decided. That's their opinion. They decided to go. JP, I know you wanted me to go down this road. I'm not. But I'm gonna stop right
Just
there.
wait for you to tell me to go to break.
Like George Costanza's dad. Stop short. But it has to come down to that after what we've seen this week, to me, if I'm in a board meeting, they're not calling me, but it's going to be very hard to convince me that we can't get a football season in because of the coronavirus after what we saw in cities in the Northeast, cities all over.
Pack Bryant-Denny, baby. Let's go. Pack the Grove.
There are some people that are like,
pack Blue Wahoo Stadium. Can we get back out there and watch some baseball and then some UWF football?
They had movie night out there this week. People gather out and picnic.
Did you see Bubba Watson was the first one to rent out the stadium?
Did he really?
He posted it. He was on SportsCenter the other day.
He was on Peloton too. Did you see that?
I did not.
He was in the Peloton race. Booger McFarland was on it. That's a big boy to get on that thing.
He did a thing on SportsCenter, and he was right there at home plate talking about the Airbnb at Blue Wahoo Stadium, how great it was, and how the family went out there and they took some batting practice. And pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. And I think it's an experience. It is an experience.
I wouldn't know.
I have passed out in a locker room.
I'm terrible at golf and not good enough to play any professional sport. So,
but that's because I didn't sleep in college, and the coach was like, "You're late for practice," and I apparently had fell asleep trying to get my clothes on. So, God bless no cell phones in college at that time. We're coming back for more Sports Drive, ESPN Pensacola, Blab TV.
What if people had a battery level icon, like on your phone? You'd see a lot of us in need of a recharge. Thank goodness there's 5-Hour Energy. Because just one sugar-free, vitamin-packed 5-Hour Energy shot can get you all the way back to 100% fast. And isn't life better at 100%? 5-Hour Energy. Get back to 100%. For more information, visit 5hourenergy.com.
Welcome to Bo! Okay, hi, what are we doing today?
I need something that screams something fun. Nothing too on the face, nothing too off the face, but also totally hot.
So I have the perfect thing. It's the most food mullet. You're totally business in the front, but tailgate in the back. It's a fat party. People are having fun. You know, snap. All your friends are going to be like, whoa, awesome setup. Everyone else is going to be all jelly, okay?
Just like a killer mullet, Moe's Catering will turn the back of your ride into a tailgate party that's sure to turn some heads. Just order ahead and pick it up on your way.
Moe's Southwest Grill, now open in Pace on Highway 90 next to Publix Grocery Store.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Pensacola's home to hometown sports, covering the biggest high school games. UWF football, catching every game of the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. Plus, local sports commentary with the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. And weekend sports talk with Davis Allen and Justin Patrick on the Sports Call. We are local. We are ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Hurricane season is upon us, and although we aim to bring you the latest news in sports, we're committed to bringing the Pensacola community the latest updates and information during the 2020 hurricane season. In collaboration with our sister stations, News Radio 92.3 AM 1620 and Cat Country 98.7, stay up to date with breaking weather news and updates on the biggest storms impacting Northwest Florida by checking our Facebook pages at Cat Country 98.7, News Radio 92.3, and ESPN Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Looking for future leaders we can believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Florida. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Florida High School Athletic Association and the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
You can watch Chad on the Sports Drive live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Major League Baseball trying to figure things out here today. Floyd Mayweather did say he would pay for George Floyd's funeral at this point. Huh? He's got the money, but that's not the point. I don't like when people do that. Yeah, they just donate because they have it. Well, still a good deed. He did it, so good for you, Floyd. And it's a positive. I'm trying to take any positives this week we can. Clemson's receiver Justin Ross, Justin with a Y, out for 2020 season. He could be joining everybody in America out for 2020, but with a spinal injury. That just doesn't sound right. What sounds worse, a spinal injury in football or without being paralyzed, but a spinal injury in football or having surgery on your inner core as you had with Joey Bosa?
Spinal?
Yeah. Inner core surgery, first off, sounds like a Ben & Jerry's ice cream, but it also sounds awful. You know what I'm saying? I just
because of the spine, it's so sensitive. Oh, my goodness. The slightest little thing.
Looking right now at Brad Keselowski getting it done out there.
Lucky duck.
By the way, does it seem it can't just be me because I have been watching probably more NASCAR races right now than ever in my life, just because it's that Bundesliga soccer in Germany and Korean baseball late at night, and they're at polar opposite ends of the spectrum, meaning German soccer starts at 8 in the morning on Sunday, and Korean baseball is at 3 and 4 in the morning on the weekdays. So if you want to watch anything in the afternoon, Costa Rican soccer, and that's even at night. And I'm not a big fan of them. And then on top of that, you have, lo and behold, NASCAR. I mean, that's pretty much it, what's happening right now. Even the John Deere got canceled and PGA was supposed to start. But we need to realize, though, that is it just me or does it seem every race, though, that either Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott and Kurt Busch are like battling for one of the top 3 spots? And Keselowski came back and won this. He was
Kyle
not
Busch,
in
you mean?
Kyle Busch. Did I say Kurt?
Yeah.
Okay,
Kurt's been hanging in the
Kurt's
middle of the
name showed up on the list.
He's been hanging in the back of the pack.
I was going to say, he was at the bottom. The Bushes were sandwiching the entire crowd like an accordion all the way through. One of those triple-decker subs right there because he's way down at the bottom. But I would have to say it can't just be me watching this, that it seems every time I turn it on that either Hamlin, Kyle Busch, pretty much, or Chase Elliott is interchanging throughout the race at 1, 2, and 3. Even Keselowski was at about 6 for a lot of the race, and he came charging at the end.
Well, I think it's more along the lines of they're good drivers, but NASCAR's always seemed to be this way. You always have, there's about three to four guys that are always going to typically win or be right there in the top 5. Now you're seeing guys like Chase Elliott, which, Logano yesterday I thought was interesting because, they're racing hard. And, of course, coming down to the couple laps left, coming into the curve there, Chase Elliott trying to get a run on him. His car gets loose, slides up there, and Logano, I understand being mad. The adrenaline's pumping. You were so close. You're actually in first, and Chase Elliott's making a run at you. I get him being upset, but, to each their own to how they handle it. Logano was like, listen, I get it happens, but, he could at least apologize to me. It's like, bro, what, do you really care that much about the apology then? Whatever. I hate when guys are like, I deserve an apology from him. His car came up and got loose. It's not his fault. I'm just saying, I understand
Sometimes
being
you gotta
mad.
Get loose on Sunday.
I get it. It happens, but, the way Logano, which, he could have handled it a little bit more, but him and Kyle Busch, of course, trading punches. Sometimes you wonder. But no, I think for Keselowski, listen, right place, right time again. He's done well. Bristol, to me, though, God, it's just so weird to see that track without fans. I mean, that place is unreal. I've only been able to visit it, never been there for a race. Just seeing it, walking in, you're just like, holy crap, this
Your
place
Priors
is
in
crazy.
Tennessee, right?
Huh?
Your Priors in Tennessee? You're
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And Bristol, that's the loudest track in NASCAR. It's a half mile. Just think of Five Flag Speedway with 100,000 people. Just think about that. It's crazy, but it's so much fun to watch that race. It was a lot of fun.
It's not just a snowball derby; it's a snowman. It's the full.
It's what do you call it? The Yeti.
Right,
it's like a Yeti out there.
The abominable snowman. Yeah, that's.
But it's cool. I thought it was great. I hate the way the race ended. Chase Elliott again. I just can't catch a break. He wins a couple races, and he's been on the cusp of winning just about every single race he's been in this year. But nonetheless, it is what it is. Moving on. Talladega's coming up soon. I have to look at the schedule. I'm not exactly sure what the next race is at this point. I know the Xfinity race is tonight. But coming up, I know Talladega's coming up soon. There's a bunch of races coming up soon. Good. One thing I will say is I think NASCAR has done a great job. And for people like, yeah, I bet, because you can social distance, well, not as easy as you think when you're talking about all these teams, pit stalls, everything like that. I thought NASCAR has done a pretty good job. And, you know what, hats off to them, because I know, of course, a lot of leagues, a lot of people have come to them and said, how are you doing this? Because remember, these guys can't have their families there. It's very important to remember. They left their families. Their families are at home, wherever they're at. And a lot of them are based towards Charlotte, so they don't have to travel too far. But, hats off to NASCAR. For a lot of people that aren't NASCAR fans, you've probably watched. And I think overall the product's been pretty good.
Yeah.
I really think it has.
I mean, you realize, I mean, we got into this business because we are sports fans and we know that, but I mean, how many people you have to pick and choose? And when you have families and you get older, you really have to pick and choose. I remember at one point the Vegas Chip alias, and I could lay back at the sports book, get a free drink even handed to me. It was when Corona was cool, actually, with the lime. And I would sit there, and you could watch literally everything on a Saturday and Sunday. Right there, sitting at the Golden Nugget or the Bellagio, and get to watch all those TVs. There was even a couch that was a leather mitt, a baseball mitt. That not like a first baseman's glove, too. A huge glove that you could sit back in and grab drinks as you sat in a leather sofa in the shape of a baseball mitt and get handed drinks while you watch 15 sporting events. Times change for the best. Got an awesome family, get to go to games locally, cover sporting events here. But you look back and you can't do everything. When it comes down to NASCAR, there was a lot of times you had to make that decision. NBA Finals, PGA Tour event on Sunday with Tiger in it. You had an event going on, the baseball season. Your team was playing a Red Sox-Yankees series on ESPN. And you had to make that decision in that summer. The Olympics were coming up. You couldn't watch them all. Now if you're a sports fan, you're watching NASCAR. That's what's happening. And, by the way, here's a little ditty for you. A little fact check on this. That Brad Keselowski, only racer to be able to win the pole. He got that pole and then had a chance to, as well, win the Cup Series. Only racer this season in 2020 that was the pole winner and won the race. And, by the way, afterwards, did you see him? He also, multitasker, he was able to fend off riders with a sword. You see the sword in his hand? He was able to fend off his family from riders with a sword. He was able to social distance with his mask. And he was also within 6 feet of nobody. And then also, on top of it, was able to win a race. So he's able to protect his family with a sword, win a race, and social distance while also winning the pole. Bravo, mister. Being a Brad. Being a Brad that way.
The next race, of course, the Xfinity race is going on right now. The next Cup Series race is Sunday, of course, at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Then they turn around Wednesday. It's at Martinsville, over in Martinsville, Virginia. Then this will be interesting. Look, the June 14th, the Dixie Vodka 400. That sounds a good name. At Homestead Miami Speedway.
Did you say Dixie Vodka?
Dixie Vodka.
How do I not know that?
I don't know. I guess that's something I gotta research.
And
then, of course, the 21st, the big race coming up, the Geico 500 at Talladega Super Speedway. It'd be weird to see Talladega with no fans.
Oh, yeah.
That is a giant. I mean, it's
well, they'll be out there probably in RVs trying to get it.
Be in the woods, hiding.
It's a plastic bottle.
You've never been to Talladega. That's interesting. Interesting trip.
1999. Not bad. Getting the proof on it.
Oh, Dixie vodka?
It's got the corn on it. 40%, not a bad one right
What's
here.
the reviews on it, though?
Let me see right here.
Oh, I've actually
You've
had
seen
some of that. Okay. I didn't.
Yeah.
All right, I've had that poured in a drink
You call that
before.
Wednesday. I'm seeing it. That's
That's a Wednesday.
There it
that's
is.
a Wednesday afternoon before the show.
You're just getting some corn. That's what you always tell me. I'm out for getting some corn on the cob.
Yeah.
That's logo right there on it. There you go.
Liquid corn.
Come back singing Dixie.
I'm so healthy.
I can't say the same this week. This is not the
No, you cannot.
Getting there. Taking the right choices. This is water, actually.
By the way,
This cup. Cheers.
Deshaun Jackson, did you see what he said? So we don't have fans in the stands. We need to mic these players up. That's a horrible idea, by the way.
See, he should have gone with, even with fans in the stands, they can't see me. I'm so fast. But no.
Because he's injured.
They want to mic the people up?
No, but that's what Deshaun Jackson's saying.
It's a
He said,
terrible
listen.
idea.
And I
Especially
think, of
him,
course,
too.
probably seeing the XFL and how a lot of people like that, him coming out and saying that, look, let's just call it what it is.
It's an awful idea to mic them up. Yeah.
It's not very smart. If you want it to be family friendly, then don't do this, because I will say, just in high school, the high school aspect of things, if you think it's bad at the NFL level, it's bad at high school as well. So no matter what level you're at, you don't want to hear everything these guys say. I can't imagine these grown men talking trash to each other.
Terrible
in the
idea.
words that we
Terrible
would hear.
idea.
I would. We would all learn probably words.
Terrible idea for a couple reasons. One, somebody's got to have the job of going to talk to Bill Belichick after like a pick six from the incumbent instead of. Like, if that, I don't care how much money. Think about like a young kid in broadcasting, his first job is to walk over to Bill. Coach Belichick?
Oh, jeez.
What do you think happened? What was that play call? I threw it right into the arms of the defender. He might take the rope from the chain gang and just none of this. You don't want any of that. This is an awful. Remember, you had Big Game Bob Stoops showing up in like jeans and a cowboy hat. He was loving it, but he didn't. Nobody's ever going to hear him be like, I bled Dallas Renegades. Like you were their coach. Most of those coaches, Jerry Glanville looked like he was on vacation in Tampa. Most of these guys joined us on the XFL show, but Mark Trestman didn't even know what planet he was on. But a lot of these people, they were just there and they were getting a opportunity. They took it serious. They took their job serious as coaches, but they didn't bleed for their team and they didn't love it. There are a lot of teams in the NFL. They do everything for their city. It is a different breed in there, and they interview both sides. So yeah, if you're going to interview Travis Kelce after a touchdown, that's pretty cool. But fourth quarter, when the guy gets sacked in the fumble and you walk up and interview a quarterback that just got sacked after the fumble, good luck. We're coming back for more Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola, Blab TV.
Just felt there's a huge need in Pensacola to bring foot and ankle services, specifically orthopedic foot and ankle services, to this area. There's so much growth in Pensacola. I wanted a freestanding orthopedic foot and ankle center to do this. And as far as I can tell, this is the only one really in the country that's freestanding. Most orthopedic surgeons are part of a multi-specialty group. So we offer on-site x-rays, on-site CT scan, and on-site MRI. They can come to one place.
Visit NielsenOrthopedics.com to reserve your appointment today.
For 30 years, Thomas Home Corporation has proudly helped families build their ultimate dream home. If you're looking to customize your home, we are currently building throughout Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa counties, and we can either build to your home in one of our subdivisions or even on your own lot. Our team works with you to guide you through each step and decision in the process. Builder of the 2019 American Dream Home and Builder of the Year, Thomas Homes Corporation has built quality homes at an affordable price since 1990. Begin the process today and become one of our proud homeowners at thomashomescorp.com.
Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
At Central Credit Union, the health and well-being of their members and employees remain a top priority. In the weeks to come, as they prepare to possibly open some of the branch lobbies, please know that Central Credit Union will operate according to safety guidelines set by the state of Florida and the Centers for Disease Control. Central Credit Union's mission is to serve the needs of their members beyond their expectations and doing the best to follow this mission while keeping members and employees safe. Visit ccufl.org. Central Credit Union is where you belong.
Slowly but surely, we are returning to restaurants, beaches, our places of worship, returning to business. As your business opens the doors and adjusts to new ways, recruiting may be a need for you. Do you have a business that needs to hire? Let News Radio 92.3 AM 1620, Cat Country 98.7, ESPN Pensacola, and Playlist 94.5 help spread the word. You'll reach thousands of potential customers and possible employees every hour of every day, so let us tell your story and help you get back to business. Email Jeff at catcountry987.com, and to all local businesses, welcome back.
The latest sports news is at ESPNpensacola.com and on Facebook at ESPN Pensacola. Plus, watch Chad Brilliante, Coach K, and Sports Call live on our exclusive YouTube channel, ESPN Pensacola 1330. This is Northwest Florida's all sports, all the time station. From Destin to New Orleans, sports fans come here for ESPN and local sports talk. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
I just wanna stay in the sun where I find. I know it's hard sometimes. Pieces of peace in the sun's peace of mind. I know it's hard sometimes. Yeah, I think about the end just way too much.
Well, big news here for, I know it was a tough one today. Your FC Con team lost today. Leipzig was able to get it done 4-2 in the Bundesliga.
My what team?
FC Con.
Oh, okay.
Tough loss for him this year.
Tough
loss.
Sure, tough.
Leipzig might making a statement right there in the top three.
Big statement. I couldn't tell you
Right
what
there
it was,
with
but they're making it.
Borussia Dortmund and Munich now. So congratulations right there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And Leverkusen. I know this is big for you right
Thank
here.
you.
This is big. I'm actually texting Joe all the time watching these games. As a sports fan, I'm watching these games. It's something to do. I've also been bed rest for a week, so I have nothing. Personally, I'd rather be at the beach or doing something, but I cannot right now. 850-623-1330. Our thoughts and prayers, like we said, to Pat Dye, everybody, all of his family and the Auburn family, the people of the SEC, a legend. 99-39-4. That's a great record, 12 seasons. 9 straight winning years. Team won 4 SEC titles. He was named SEC Coach of the Year 3 times. It was the real deal. And, who would have, at that, the path he was going, 12 years is a short period for a guy that has that many wins. If he coaches 20, and he gets a title or 2. Because remember, old ball coach only got 1. Bobby Bowden had what, 2?
Mm-hmm.
So not all legends get 5 or 6 or 7 titles. We think that's something that's so easy. Titles are not so easy to win. But ask Dan Marino. But when it comes down to,
don't ask Dan Marino about
do
it.
not.
Don't do that.
That's, mic up Dan Marino on that question, right?
Nope. No, thank you.
99-39-4. And Pat Dye, Coach Dye, passed away today at the age of 80. He had been battling with kidney failure for the last couple weeks. And we haven't talked to him in a couple months. He used to join us every Thursday, and I need to call in again. I actually reached out to her, last week, and even you saw the reports of the coronavirus, and he was asymptomatic, but that didn't mean that we don't know what's happening. We still don't know 100% what's happening with this virus. It's real. Is it the right thing to do to open up the beaches and not social distance, or protest in the streets and act like the coronavirus is gone for a certain cause or whatever? I don't know the perfect answer to that. Is it as bad on the other side for us? I don't know that either. But we know it's real, and it's taking lives of loved ones of ours. So thoughts go out there. And like I said, don't know all the answers to this, but, Pat, you're going to be missed. It's all the time we have for today's show. JP, Have a great rest of your night. John back in the Lab TV studios. For all of us here at ESPN Pensacola, have a great rest of your night. I'm Chad Brilliante, and God bless.
Said I just got paid today.